Hello YouTube, this is Boston Best 0407, and this is going to be an addendum to my last video, and this is going to be a commentary on what I had read off in my last video. Now, before I actually get into the commentary, I just wanted to point out that I kind of want to apologize because I used a kind of an ironic slide, the girl with the big breasts and kind of happy face that didn't. I don't know if they really sent home the kind of the barbarism of what I was discussing, and maybe it came off less serious than I originally had intended. I had thrown around about what still I wanted to use, and I ended up using that. I was going to save that for a different video, because I had it on my computer. And I was going to use one that was. Then I realized I wanted to use that for another one. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off track. But I just wanted to point that out. But anyway, so as far as what I discussed, there's many different problems that need to be pointed out. As I said, this was something they discussed on the mainstream website. This was not a RadFM hub place. This was a mainstream website. They were talking about this. And they weren't even talking about this as, say, radical feminists, as a subgroup of feminism. All too often, they mentioned several different times about feminism, and they weren't breaking it up and saying, well, it was feminism. No, it was feminist groups want this. It was feminism they were talking about. But the really bizarre and rather scary thing, everybody out there should regard as scary, is the fact that they weren't even really discussing this as feminists. They were discussing it as women. More often than not, they were discussing what they believe. By the way, what they wanted as a punishment for rape, as women, more or less, as young girls. They were talking about young girls, probably around my age. I'm in my 20s, or even in their teens, probably. Now, This is awful. They're talking about what they want as a punishment for rape, but it quickly devolves into just all-out torturing and violence against men and killing men and all this other stuff. But the nonchalant way, the sort of clueless way, it's almost like they don't realize they could ever get caught for this. They don't even think there's a problem with it, really. And this leads to me to conclude a number of things about how there really is a pathology as it regards men that we have as a society. The fact that a bunch of girls can sit there and talk about this barbaric, really barbaric treatment of men, is to me, leads me to conclude that there's some serious problems. And this commentary is really about that. That is, what are we going to do about this problem? This is a problem. If you click on the text, you read the comments and everything that I linked on there. These are people sitting around talking about. They're talking about the torturing of 9 and 12-year-old boys should they ever rape. They're talking about putting women above the law, an entity above the law, a biological entity above the law. Who believes that she should be able to define rape at any moment, and then from there have any sort of violence and awfulness directed at the man. We wouldn't do this with any other group of people. It's simply ridiculous, giving them this power. This is not about equality. They're not discussing, because the fact of the matter, it should be pointed out that equality would mean androgyny. Men and women would be androgynous according to the law. There wouldn't be a difference as such. So you wouldn't be making distinctions, about the nature of crime. All crime would be basically the same. It'd be considered criminal. But this is not what they're talking about. They're talking about this. And, the thing is, feminism is a very powerful entity, very powerful ideology on society. It's probably the most influential ideology in the Western world at this point. And it's very powerful. There's women's groups, women advocates who have a great deal of power to advocate for a variety of different things that they want. And the idea, for example, if you're a man, let's say, and you're walking around believing, that they can't really do this, and I'm a man, I'm tough, and I don't have to. The thing is, if these people ever capture state power, this is what would be happening to you, and this would be happening for anything. You almost would not have a chance. I mean, if you did something negative, if you did anything at all, and it offended a woman, you could be in that hot seat, and they could just all of a sudden grab you along and take you and do this, and there would be no recourse that you would have. You'd have no recourse because you would be the man, bad man, good woman, and that's how it would be. You would suffer for basically being male, effectively. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, well, oh, this can't be. This just can't be. They're crazy people. No, they're not crazy. They're not. Well, they are crazy. But it's not crazy to think that they could do this. These people could capture state power. Psychopathic women could capture state power if they wanted to because they have it. They have a lot of influence already. They have a lot of lobbying groups behind them. And they could legitimize this insanity. And I say to all of you out there, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about this as a society? I mean, I don't claim, for example, to be the best spokesman for this stuff. I'm an imperfect person. I've said many things in my life that if I was held accountable for every bad thing I've ever said or done to anybody, male or female, I would probably be just in that hot seat myself, basically. I don't claim to be perfect. But the problem is that these ideas they're expressing are not taboo, because if they were taboo, they wouldn't be talking the way they were. I mean, I compare it, for example, when you think of like different hate groups, like white nationalists and various groups like that. The thing is, we regard all white nationalists as bad. All white nationalists are taboo, and white nationalists know their views are taboo. Neo-Nazis and people like they know their views are taboo. When they discuss it in places like Stormfront, they know full well that what they're saying is taboo to the larger society. They know that, and they even get a kind of a kick out of being taboo in that regard. Because I remember I was watching forget his name, Louis Theroux or something. I forget how you say his name. He did a documentary about Louis and the Nazis, for example, and I guess he's a kind of a liberal guy. But he pointed out in his documentary about the neo-Nazis that they seem to get a kick out of the taboo, the tabooness of their views, this absurdity of their views almost. This is what I'm saying. These people are not seeing their views as taboo. They want to see this as normalized as circumcision. What are we going to do about this? There's simply no justification for it. You can never make any justification for it. We as a society, we in the Western world, decided a very long time ago that cruel and unusual punishment was wrong. We even argue the death penalty, and many of us in the Western world have gotten rid of the death penalty. Many countries have gotten rid of the death penalty, especially in Europe, because it's wrong, because it's cruel and unusual. Places like Norway or Sweden and Scandinavia, they've gotten rid of life sentences. They give you 21 years in prison. That's the most you can ever get in trouble for in Norway. This is because we regard some of this stuff as bad. Now we're in a situation where there's groups discussing this again. Valley Solanas. They have like feminist groups like in Sweden that celebrate Valley Solanas. Or don't quote me on that. But no one's really bothered by Valley Solanas. Whereas we're bothered by many other people who are men, for example, expressing hatred views against other men. White men expressing hatred views against black men. And when you think about the Southern Poverty Law Center, they cover all hate groups, not just white nationalist groups, but black nationalist groups as well. For the similarities in their anti-egalitarian, ideas, and their supremacist ideas. We keep track of those, but it's taboo to even. They don't even have. There's nothing about. I don't think there's anything about radical feminism on there, and the barbarism of radical feminism. You got the femitheist who has like 1,000 views, who has a YouTube sponsorship. That's normal, even though she's talking about castrating 90% of all men and having a castration day and all this other stuff, and no one sees anything wrong with this. This kind of thing, if this shows anything, it's gotten out of hand. It's generally gotten out of hand in our society, and there's almost nobody wants to point this out. Even criticizing feminism, critiquing feminism, is taboo because it seems like you're expressing hatred of women. It's like if women could do whatever they want, they can be a law amongst themselves. If we really want equality, men and women have to be androgynous, as I stated earlier. And this is not happening. If we think women can say anything they want, or we can just we have the luxury of not taking them seriously, even though they have considerable power already and have made great strides, in achieving equality, quote unquote, as feminists and women like to point out, then we have to also begin to start holding them accountable as adults. And my main issue is that they don't. These things aren't even misandry isn't even regarded as a word among some people. Even even though andro is the root word, and that means male in Greek, and like gyno, misogyny means the same thing. Gyno means woman. It's the root word of misogyny. But probably the main thing I want to point out, and I really don't want to make this commentary any longer than it has to be, so I'm going to try to make this short. But the main issue, I think, if you're a man, if you're male, is this is what they think about you. You can pretty much ignore everything I've said in my commentary, but this is what they think about you. This is what they want to do to you. And what are you going to do about it? Are you going to, because it doesn't even matter if your male ancestors, if you will, were oppressors. It doesn't even make a difference. These are what they want to do to you in the here and now. If you even get caught, if you do something a woman doesn't like, you would be in that hot seat. You would be the one. This is what they want to do to you. And what are you going to do about it? You're just going to stand there and do nothing? You're going to be shamed or guilt-tripped into being submissive and just letting it happen? You're going to have them say, oh, well, you're not man enough because you're complaining? You should just deal with getting castrated. You should deal with getting your balls cut off. As far as I'm concerned, I take all this personally, because guess what? I see them as talking about my balls, my penis, me. I'm in that hot seat. I'm going to be the one getting humiliated. I'm going to be the one getting in trouble for something that I don't deserve or that I didn't do just because some vindictive woman would want to see it happen to me. That's me they're talking about. And that's you they're talking about. So what are you going to do? Are you going to stand there and let it happen? Because the fact of the matter is these people theoretically could acquire state power if they wanted to. And they'd be doing it to you. Seems unrealistic? Don't lie to yourself, men. Don't lie to yourself. Don't be a fool. It could happen. I'm sure the Jews, and this is going to be a bad example that everyone's going to criticize me for, and everyone's going to say, well, that's not the case, that's not this, that's not that, that's not the other thing. I'm sure many Jews didn't think that it would happen to them, and it did. You can't bring it up because you're making the Holocaust not what it is. You're not supposed to talk about it, but that's the fact. That's the reality of it. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to you? Are you going to let women, if women are equal to us, are you going to let women get away with this? Are you going to let women say this? Are you going to let a section of the female population say this? Are we not going to start holding women accountable? Are we not going to do this? Because I can't put up with this. I can't deal with this. When I read something like this, I'm disgusted with it. I don't hate women. I love women. Women are great. I love that photo of that woman I had in the picture, which probably made the thing, a little less serious than I meant it to be. But I love women. I love women. I want to hold women just as accountable as me. Okay? That's it. That's what I want. I want to see women just the same as me, just as flawed as I am, just as capable of as bad as I am. And I want to see misandry the same way misogyny is taboo, castration, justifying castration, the same way rape is taboo. That's what I want to see. All these things taboo. And I'm not even mad that they expressed it. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in expressing absurd views if they wanted to. I'm not a problem with that. The problem is it's not taboo. It's not a problem to people. It should become a problem. It should become outside of the mainstream. We should regard radical feminists as the hateful people they are. And we should also understand, at least the very least recognize, that feminism can, if it wanted to, lead to hate. Not that it's necessarily hate, but that it can, if it wanted to, lead to its most logical conclusion as hate of men. And we should also regard as men as having the same human status as anybody else. We should say men could be victims of sexual violence, and we should regard that as a problem the same way it's a problem for women, and the two should be regarded as equal. What are we doing to achieve this? We have a culture where we can't even criticize feminism without assuming that that we're saying that men and women are not equal. We can't even have this without assuming that. What are we going to do about it? But the last point I want to make is that they are talking about you. This is what they think of you. This is what they think about you, men. And what are you going to do with that? I'm going to leave you with that question. And I'm going to end here, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.